Previously on agentpalmer.com, Tanequil is a great middle sector for the High Druid Trilogy. Fact over fiction, why I'm watching more documentaries than ever before, and since the last episode, I've been working on being more open about mental health. This is the Palmer Files, episode 68 with Khan, who you may know from his streams or the many emotes of his which populate Twitch, his merchandise, or his coffee. We discuss all of that, plus his journey back to art, being a teacher, building a brand, streaming for selfish reasons, philosophy, consistency, and much, much more. Are you ready? Let's do the show! Hello and welcome to the Palmer Files. I'm your host, Jason Stershik, also known as Agent Palmer, and on this 68th episode is Khan. He is the founder of KhanArt, and as you'll soon hear, wears many hats. This is a conversation I cannot wait to share with you, so I'll keep this short. You're going to hear about Khan's journey, not only where he's going, but where he's been. This conversation may be between two creators, but Khan and I create different things. If you are a creator or entrepreneur, listen close, because everything is applicable. This is an inspiring discussion. You'll hear about why Khan started streaming on Twitch, how he's diversified into merchandise and even his own coffee blend. You'll learn about business and creation, time management and process. All of that is coming your way very soon. But first, remember, if you want to discuss this episode as you listen or afterwards, you can tweet me at Agent Palmer, my guest Khan at Young Khan, that's YUNGKHAN, or this show at The Palmer Files. You can find more information about Khan at KhanArtist.org, that's KHAN artist.org. You can find additional Khan merch at HFTees.com, that's HFTEES.com, or get some of his Khanguer Blend Coffee at kingscoastcoffee.com. Don't forget you can see all of my writings and rantings on agentpalmer.com, and of course email can be sent to thepalmerfiles at gmail.com. So without further ado, let's get into it. Khan, you are a creator and a thought leader and an educator and like an illustrator and a designer. You are a lot of things. When people ask you what you are, what is your first response?
I make stuff. That's pretty much where it starts and ends. All right. What kind of stuff? That could be a very long list. So I just kind of lead into I make stuff.
Okay.
It's a pretty good general slathering for what I do as a profession.
Did you always want to make stuff?
I would say yes, and like probably in my early 20s, I got disillusioned because I couldn't get any work, and I wasn't very good, so I wasn't getting the work to begin with, and the internet was not as good as it is now. So that was on hiatus for like maybe a decade or over a decade or so. So I didn't really make anything for a whole decade.
And now you're catching up for that.
Yeah, I'm filling out all missed 10 years in the span of 5. I'm putting 15 years of time into 5 years, basically.
I've been slowly creating for the better part of a decade. Between the blog and the podcast and like helping other people. But I gotta tell you the one thing where I feel like you and I differ, because I am a creator as well, sort of, but I tend to prefer to help people make things as opposed to making the things.
I understand that. I'm moving towards that. That's the goal, is to move away from making so many things and to, assist people to get in the position that I'm in, because as a designer, you can't really do commission work forever. It'll drain you. It'll drain all your energy. So I'm moving more into education, stuff like that, helping people make things, coaching people on a monthly basis. So other designers, other creators that want to, up their game in the space.
If I go back a decade or two, like during your decade of no creation, and I said, you are going to be a teacher and help other people, like, would you have looked at me weird?
Oh, no, because
Okay.
I was teaching martial arts, and
Okay.
I was working at a high school as a phys ed teacher. So
All
I've
right.
always been into helping people like figure things out. Like that was the best thing about teaching kids martial arts, was helping them, like, you give them a concept and you watch them slowly like unwrap it like a gift. You're like, you're almost there. Just tear the corner just a little bit more. You almost got this. Like, we'll come back and try it again tomorrow. It's fine, or next week. So yeah.
Is that martial arts background the reason that, like, I like, I'll fanboy out for a moment. Like, I watched a lot of your conversations, and I was like, this guy's a philosopher almost. Like, is that come from the martial arts?
Yeah. Then that's like one of my favorite, topics. I've got a small library behind me. Probably about 25% to 30% is all philosophy. Probably 30% is martial arts. There's no fiction back there. It's all like history and
Okay.
philosophy and stuff. So, and art books on, Asian history, Middle Eastern history, stuff like that.
I have a, I don't know. I think my library is probably 50-50 between fiction and non. I try to make sure I don't fall into one or the other for very long, because I feel like you can learn just as much from fiction as you can from non, but I also like the idea of learning from real people. Philosophy, though, like, I like discussing it. I like talking about it. I'm not really good at reading it.
It's I like dense things. That's just a personal thing. Like I've tried reading. There's only like one fictional series I've read through front to back, and that was the Dune series by Frank Herbert.
Okay.
And that's a very dense read that kind of reads like nonfiction at some points. It's very it's like more of a history breakdown in reverse. You're just like, oh man, this is really good. And some people, this is a really not a good read. I don't think this is, but it's so political, and like, whatever. Um, so that's my brand of fiction, which is not like most fiction.
All
So
right.
yeah, I've tried reading like other popular fiction. I'm just like, oh man, I am getting drowsy. I'm getting drowsy reading this. You put me in front of like some Krishnamurti, I'm like, oh man, this is deep. Oh man, I'm in a chapter 10 already. Oh God. Please go on.
I mean, you bring up brand, right? Like, you, I don't know how to ask it. Are you your brand?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, if you want to be authentic to what you do, not like, put on a false like facade all the time. That seems extra tiresome. So
Yeah. Yeah.
I is what you see is what you get. Like
Okay.
that's pretty much it.
And do you find that tiring? Like, because you're live on Twitch. You're more public. Like this, I put my podcast out. I put my blog out, but I guess I'm shielded because it's not live. Do you enjoy that aspect of it? Like that live, I don't want to say performance, but that on display. So I guess performance elements of it.
I don't really think about it as performance. When I live stream, it's more or less um I stream for a selfish reason. I stream so I don't have to be alone when I work. That's the reason I stream.
Okay.
Um it's not really for some people get into streaming because they want to showcase their skills. That can be a part of it, but I mostly stream so I don't have to sit here alone for 6 hours while I work on these projects for clients. It also helps me get the help people, like, ask questions about what I'm doing, and I do get to showcase this stuff to other people and potentially gain more clients, but I don't get like, I know some there's a lot of art streamers that don't like to show their face and stuff like that. I'm just like, I'm just here making stuff
Yeah.
and drinking coffee. If you want to sit in, you can sit in. You want to If you want to shoot the shit about the latest Marvel movie, we can do that. I don't. This is just me here, not working in the darkness like a hermit. Even though, I've been home the past 2.5 years like a hermit. So this is like my little bit of social interaction for the day.
I got to tell you, I love your authenticity because there are times when I don't know, I don't follow people when I can see it's a facade. And I know some people don't care, like just entertain me. But I need authenticity in my entertainers now.
Yeah. There are lots of people that have like, they have YouTube channels and have like their own art streams, and they are what they seem to be on their YouTube channels, which is very upbeat, very poppy,
Yeah.
I'm just like, if we were to meet in real life, I don't think we could hang out. This is way too, I don't know. This does not feel, this feels surreal to me. I mean, if that's how you are in real life, I know people in real life that are like that are, poppy all the time. I'm just like, but those people are super taxing to me. I can't socially. It was like, I feel like they're just sucking the life out of me like a vampire. I'm like, oh, okay, I get it. You're happy. I get it. No, I understand. I understand. But please.
I'm not even like that with coffee. Like, I drink a lot of coffee, and I'm not.
Oh, I am 50% coffee and 50% beard at this point in my life. This is what's holding this glue together of a body that I have. Is coffee.
So let's talk about the coffee for a moment, okay? You have your own blend of coffee. As a coffee drinker myself, an avid coffee drinker myself, like that seems like a very, very cool thing.
Yeah. I was actually lobbying to have my own blend for 2 years, and I finally broke them.
Persistence pays off.
I finally broke them. That in the community was like, so when's that Khanquer blend going to come out at King's Coast? I'm like, man, you guys are backing this up too. I've always had a good relationship with the guys at Rare Drop, who this is like a subsidiary of the King's Coast Coffee. I did the rebrand for Rare Drop's logo some years ago, and I did some set design work at GuardianCon 18, GCX 18 in Florida. So I've always had a good relationship with all those guys that own the company, Professor Broman, Darkness 429, those guys.
Yeah.
Like I've even done like work on their channel. I made their emotes, and I've made, some of their channel graphics and stuff like that. So they finally got around, like, we really want to have this stuff in a bag. And a position opened up, and I was like, say no more. I'm there. Say no more.
Now, I know you do a lot of things as far as design goes, and I know you're branching out now, but like, can you tell me about the mentality of building that portfolio to begin with? Because obviously you're only you've enabled yourself to branch out because you've got a portfolio and you've got regular or semi-regular design clients, and now you're branching out, but like, what was the grind like to get there? Because that's not an overnight thing.
No. More or less, it comes from the mentality just working lots of like odd jobs, and basically the workmanship I got, like the work ethic I got from my dad, who has his own construction business, but he basically did everything. Like, if you want some plumbing done, we'll do the plumbing. If you want to have a roof put on, we'll put the roof on. If you want to, have some drywall put up, we'll do that. If you want to have the cabinets reinstalled, we'll do that. If you want to tear down your garage, and if you want to do some masonry work, we do all that stuff. So when people come to me with when I first got into it, I was working at a bar as a bartender. I'd come home at night and make fan art for Destiny, and that kind of got me into doing emotes for people. People were like, oh man, these emotes are great. Do you do logos? And I'm like, no, but I'll learn.
Yeah.
And eventually I picked up the logo stuff, and people were like, oh man, do you do scenes and overlays? And I'm like, no, but I'll learn. And that's basically how I picked up every skill so far. So that's gone from like logos to overlays to motion graphics to merch design to pixel art to, it all branches off as people coming to me because the reason people come back to me is because I know this from working with my dad. If you give somebody a good product, you give somebody you if you're going to be a great source of whatever they need and be reliable, they will call you back all the time.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much how I built all that. But just I'll get something people want, and I'll learn about it, and I'll practice it for like 30 to 60 days, and I'll be like, all right, I'll do this for you, but for half price because I've never done it before. Like, all right, man, let's see how it goes, and it'll go okay, and then I started doing mascot design, and like, this would, I guess this would be like $50, so I do it for 25. It's my first time making a mascot. I'm like, this is fine. Last one I think I did was like 500 or something like that. And
yeah.
so you learn as you go, and the more you grow, the more you can kind of play with your skill level. So kind of up that as you go.
So you can do anything. I mean, in that vein, there's very little you can't do.
I mean, I don't believe there's nothing anyone can do. There's the saying, there's the jack of all trades and the master of none. And I'm like, I mean, I'd rather just be a jack of all trades. It keeps me sane.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the saying continues that, but still better than a master of one, right? Like,
yeah.
But I guess, I started this off by like listing off all the things, like all the potential titles you can give yourself, or in addition to creator. Do you have, I know you recently put out a video of like your 2022 goals, but like looking beyond, right? Like, is there something you want to do, or are you just taking it as it comes, right? Like, I'm going to do this and then we'll see how that goes and do this. Or is it like, down the road, like, no, Khan's going to be doing movies and, albums and like, is there an end? Like, do you have I don't know. I don't want to say like dream, because you seem to be in reality, which is a nice change of pace.
Oh, thank you. I guess the overall thing I'm probably doing right now is just kind of moving towards strengthening the Khanquer brand and probably moving that into its own apparel line, which takes a little bit more capital, and finishing my first game I'm developing. So those are like the immediate goals.
Yeah.
And I started a second brand a few days ago. A second apparel brand that's going to help me like get some in-house print stuff going.
Now, at this moment, like as we're talking, is this all still just you?
Mm-hmm.
At some point, like, are you going to get some help?
The 5-year goal is to start my own firm, and I can just be creative director.
Okay.
Because like most things, you kind of want to move with your reputation. And at this point, I've worked with probably over 1,200 creators in the past 5 years on their merchandise and stuff. Yeah. And out of 1,200 orders, I probably had less than 20 people being happy with what I do. So it's very important to me when I start this firm that I get the right people in there and that I'm able to pay them, My goal, the number in my head I want to pay people is 40 to 50K starting off as a designer. And I'm going to hire like one or two off the top. So that's the 5-year plan, to start my own firm. I know people that have done it recently, and I love what they do. If I can't do something, I refer people to them because they got a whole team of 6 or 7 people. I'm like, man, you guys can go to them. For the con touch, I'll be around. But you wanna get something that is workable and looks professional, you can go with those guys.
Yeah.
So,
were you always going to end up being I don't know, entrepreneur is such an overused word, but like it helps describe so many things, right? Like, you're a brand ambassador for yourself and a business owner.
Mm-hmm.
So, because I look at it like this. I have my own agency technically as like a digital marketing consultant, and it's to help people. I never really did it to make money. And that's my own like little hang up. Like I'm just so focused on the helping that I'm not like the greatest businessman, but I'm all right with that because I've managed to eke out a living elsewhere, right? But you have like a roadmap that you've built for yourself.
Mm.
That I'm genuinely impressed.
Sometimes I scare myself.
I mean,
this is kind of like out of necessity, though. Like I just
okay.
I needed to. I take everything I do super seriously, and I try to like. The whole thing is when I give people work, when I give people, I give people designs. You're giving me your hard-earned money, and I'm giving you something that should make that money work for you. So everything I do for you should be an investment, more or less.
Okay.
So that's the kind of way I move with my business. So if I'm producing things that gain you more traction financially, this business should work just fine.
I mean, it's. Do you have any clients that are like you're? I don't want you to work on this live.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's a balance there because I feel like that's. I very much understand where you're coming from. Like most creatives work in a vacuum by themselves. Like I edit this podcast by myself. Like I write by myself. I get to record with you, right? Like that. This is the part that's interactive to me. Otherwise, yeah. If I was living alone, I would have no interaction with anybody outside of the recordings.
Mm-hmm.
So I get that, but like, did you know what you were getting into when you were like, I'm just gonna go live on Twitch while I do this?
No, not really. I was doing a Destiny podcast with a buddy, because I was doing Destiny fan art, and he was like, "Man, you should really like stream your emote work." And I was like, "Nobody wants to watch me do this." I told the story probably 50 times, but I was wrong. I owe him a Coke when I see him again. But yeah, I was just, I was getting home at midnight from working at the bar and lighting the stream up till 4 a.m. Just making emotes, and the Destiny community would drop by sporadically, and that became like the kind of go-to thing. But no, I had no idea this would be it because I didn't even know the first time I made an emote. I wasn't even on Twitch. I wasn't even like I didn't even know what an emote was. I was like, I game and I listen to Destiny podcasts. You should watch me on Twitch. I don't really want to watch anybody play games. So I was wrong about that too.
Well, I mean, I guess for me, I have to ask what you did. You're no longer a bartender?
No. So
what was that like? Because that's a major milestone for you. You don't, this creative pursuit, this passion of yours is now your primary source of income. What's that like when you get to go, all right, you know what? I don't have to be a bartender anymore.
It was a little bit scary at first because, I was probably, beginning to mid 30s. I've been at that job for like 6 years, 6 years. I was, bartender. And the day I put my 2 weeks notice in, the owner was like, you sure you want to go? Do you want to be GM? I was like, I don't want to be GM. At that point, when he was offering them that GM, I was like, I was making enough money to do like drawing at home, saving me the 45-minute drive to the bar. And I was doing it on stream and, not making an extraordinarily more amount of money than I was bartending because, some days are good and some days are terrible because you're working at a bar.
Yeah.
But it was a little bit scary. But I was living, with my lady and, she had her own income. So it wasn't really like falling back on the idea that I could, kind of move from there. Was kind of like just kind of grow the business because I was getting work. I was like booked up for 4 weeks. I'm booked up for a month. I was like, oh man, I could do this. I could really make this work.
Yeah.
There's a niche for me to fulfill. And, once he was like, you should be, do you want to be GM? I was like, I gotta go. I gotta go. If I don't go now, I think I'll never go, and I'll regret this. So it was a little bit of fear, a little bit of scared, but ultimately when I got out of my, got out there and was like, oh, well, I'm now doing this full time. There was a huge amount of support for the things that I did. I was like, oh man, this could actually work. Because they said you can come back whenever you want at the bar. I still got the key I still to this day have the keys to the bar because they would not take them back.
Wow.
And I was there last year, like visiting, right when the pandemic kind of like lulled a little bit. And I was like, all right, you want the keys back to the bar? No, keep them. You might need them one day. I don't know. But I was like, God, Jesus Christ.
I mean, it feels like that, that could be like, that's your South Star. Like you're always going away from it, right? Like that. It's not your North Star because it's not where you're headed, but you're always going away from it because you don't want to go back there.
I don't have to, no.
Yeah.
No.
Did you always treat design as professional, even when it was just like early on? Just an emote here and an emote there?
No, it was just more or less making like, grocery money and like, gas money. Like the first time I made like, I think I was making emotes for like $15. And I was drawing them with a trackpad on my on this refurb laptop I got, and they were taking like an hour to 2 hours to make one like flat color emote. So it was like I wasn't, taking it too seriously. But I was like, oh, I made $60 today. If I was at the bar, I'd probably make 120. But this is more fun.
Well, so I guess I have to ask you this because personally, for me, one of the reasons that myself and I have a friend who started a design agency as well. And one of the reasons that we had such a hard time charging more wasn't because we didn't value our work. It's because it feels wrong to charge people for you having fun. I don't know if this was something that is unique to us or if it's just generally speaking for people that charge to do something they love to do. There is that moment early on when you find out what other people charge and you go, this is so much fun. I feel like I would do this for free. Did you have that? I don't know. Maybe it's unique to me, but like, did you have that trepidation when you went like, all right, I can charge more than 15 for this?
No, because the orders were getting larger and they were taking more time. And I was like, this is not sustainable.
Okay. All right.
The first time I got an order for like 30 emotes was for somebody in this is very early on. Like this is like the first like 500 emotes I ever made. For High Distortion, he was in Team Solo Med and TSM. I was like, oh man, this is gonna take forever. And then this is like my largest. It was like a few hundred. This was like I don't know, a few $100s and whatever. I was charging $20 an emote back then. So 20 times 30 is like $500 maybe or something like that. And this is like the biggest order I've ever had. Like, and then like the tablet I was using broke down in the middle of the order. So I was like, I gotta up the prices. If something breaks, I can't afford to replace anything.
Yeah.
Eventually, I found a YouTube channel that talked more about design and pricing and getting over those humps. And that like watching those videos on YouTube. Big shout out to the future with Chris Do. That like upped my income to 6 figures in the first 2 years by watching those videos and thinking about pricing design and how you should price design and why you should price design and why what you do is valuable.
Yeah.
Because when you can make something, like if you make a sandwich, like, well, it's a sandwich. Will you charge somebody to make that sandwich? No. But this is sustenance for a person. Well, yeah. Did they make it? No. Could they make it? I guess they could, but not like me. Yeah. So you kind of have that idea in your head, like when you're making things, this is invaluable. I just made it. What is this? Anybody can do this. In actuality, not everybody can do this. You got to take a step back and look at it in a wider scope and realize that the value you bring to the table is in fact value. Because we can discount the things we do as creatives all the time. Like, I knocked out a couple pieces today, and people look at me like, "You doing this for how much money?" You're like, $50. How long does it take you? Oh, it doesn't matter. So you got to break yourself out of that mentality of, because you're producing the things, the process, your skill level, you have to assign value to that, and that's kind of difficult.
Yeah.
So that YouTube channel was like was monumental in making the business a success.
So I then go to, you're in all these places and you're doing all these things. How do you manage all of it? Because this isn't like I just have a queue and I work on what's next. Like, you have so many. You're literally juggling now.
There's a method to the chaos. There's a queue.
Okay.
The queue is at like 5 months right now, which came down from 6 months like recently.
But how do you manage that with the video game and the merchandise?
So Sundays and Mondays are 5-hour streams, and I do rush orders those days. And if I don't have any rush orders, those are technically my days off.
Okay.
The problem is I haven't not had a rush order in months and months and months and months and months. So
it's a good problem to have, but not sustainable as a problem to have.
No, because the rush orders were reaching the point of being at the length of the regular orders.
Yeah.
And then I have the emergency rush orders where like I kind of just work on them. You know, you can get it in 2 weeks for double the price, or a weekend is double the price.
Yeah.
But when I start to put in like my merchandise stuff and my own personal stuff, what happens is I've become an adept at making things in an hour or two, and then just, you know, because I've done it thousands of times at this point.
Yeah.
When I make emotes, I'm on emote number 5,200 and, you know, X number right now. So it's all just a workflow. I literally pumped out 35 t-shirt designs for a new company in the span of 2 weeks while doing other work for people, because I've just done so much typography. I've done so much design work. My hands are in the muck all the time.
Yeah.
That they just never get clean. So the design muck is always there.
Do you find it's like a muscle memory thing where like that like my hand knows what it's doing?
More or less, because if you do a stream, like the first hour of the stream, first hour and a half, I just sketch whatever I want to sketch. That allows me to be more focused with my actual work time. So it's a 6-hour stream. The first hour, I'm just like, I'm gonna sketch some waifus, or I'm gonna sketch. I'm gonna do some pixel art of, you know, something for an hour, and that literally speeds up my work process, because now I'm not thinking about anything else. What I want to do for today is already done. Like I don't have to think about, oh, I'd rather be. I did that already. There's no excuse for that anymore. I've already done what I wanted to do.
It's interesting, because that seems like counterintuitive to the whole like I'm going to do this and then I'll get to what I really want to do, right? Like, because that's always the, you know, what's the dessert, and you're basically having dessert first and going, well, I've done what I want to do. Let's get on with it.
Yeah. Now there's nothing to look forward to but being done with the work for today.
Now, when did that start? Was that always the case, or was that like a thing you tried and it worked out really well?
Probably over the course of the past 2.5 years or so, I was learning how to illustrate people. Yeah, well, I'm still learning how to illustrate people. So I spend like I'm not trying to be a pro illustrator. Like, that's not really my goal, is to illustrate, you know, commissions for, you know, people's D&D characters. I just get a lot of joy out of just illustrating people, and, you know, so that's more or less what I do then. Or sometimes I'll just have a design, like some kind of graphic design like idea in my head, and I'll just, you know, crank out something in Illustrator in like, you know, 20-30 minutes, or I'll put a timer on or something like that.
Do you work in I guess traditional mediums, right? Like, I know you do a lot digitally, but do you know, charcoal, pencil?
Not in forever.
No? I mean, is it something you'd want to get back to, like, for not for pay, mind you? I'm thinking more like hobby wise, or just like returning to your roots kind of a deal.
No, paper's inferior. I don't really want to.
Okay.
I can't hit Command Z on paper. It's fine. There is no undo. It's like, I just rather, because digital is just so streamlined. It's like, I don't like this. I'll just delete. Now I didn't burn a tree down. It's fine.
Yeah.
But it looks so cool. I'm pretty sure it does look cool to have a sketchbook in front of you. But if I'm working digitally all the time and I'm making my work digitally, that's good enough for me.
Okay. What do you do when you're not creating?
Well, running the business is like an hour worth of emailing and DMs and checking up on people's orders and clarifying. So that's like 30, 45 minutes of my day on average. Okay. I spend about 30 minutes writing my daily comic.
By the way, I can't say any specific examples, but I have felt personally seen at least twice in the last few weeks. I wonder, is it the creative, I don't know, ether, where no, I'm feeling that too.
It all started as a one-off joke for hot tub streamers, and people really, really liked it. They're like, "When's the next comic coming out?" Like, I'll make one tomorrow, whatever. And it's been 250 days or something like that since then. All right. Soon it'll be a book. It'll be a book soon. We're actually releasing a little Kickstarter pretty soon.
So the question I have, let's go back to I don't know, number 150 or whatever, right? It feels like when something like that happens, there's the pressure to continue the streak, and then there's the pressure to no, this is still fun, right? Was the pressure to continue the streak ever greater than the this is fun?
No.
Okay.
No one's making you do anything. If I didn't want to do it anymore, I would just stop doing it. Yeah. Because I'm not getting paid for it. I mean, sometimes I get some tips on it from my Ko-Fi, but I'm not really. It's if I were to one day go, I have run out of ideas, and I don't think anything I say is funny anymore. This comic is over. Hasn't happened yet. I just, some days are funny and some days are poignant, and some days are just like, I rushed that one. This could have been better. But no one can complain about it because no one's paying for it. It's fine.
It's true. Yeah. I mean, people will find a way to complain anyway. But
people complain about it. I'm like, you make one then. They're like, maybe I will. I'll wait. That's what I thought.
So let's get into you are away from the business and you're away from the stream. Are you just reading about philosophy? Is that your downtime?
Oh man, I haven't picked up a book in so long because I've been so busy.
How do you recharge then? Because I know for me, I can't be on all the time for weeks on end. I mean, I can, but at a certain point I break and I go oh no, okay, it's time. Step away from the computer.
Yeah, typically I power lift for an hour or two at nighttime. I built a gym in my house the first year I started the business. I had to take a break the past 2 months because I had pulled some muscles, so I've been kind of sitting in this chair. And well, I've been doing cardio and hitting the bag.
Yeah.
Watching some 80s anime and hitting the bag in the basement. So little cardio, moving around, playing some video games when I can. Enjoying the new Destiny DLC. But a lot of times when I get into my office, I have this idea. I'm like, let me just write down this idea real quick. And not maybe I should just go and make breakfast and then I'll end up making that into a t-shirt and releasing it. Because I have an idea. And I know the thing I've learned about my ideas is if I don't make the idea, then somebody else will, and I'll just be upset at them. Because I didn't do it.
I have to ask you this. Do you write down everything? Because I'm a guy that I'm very aware I've lost good ideas because I didn't write them down in time. Or I didn't document them in some kind of way to remind myself you had this good idea, right? So now I carry, I have a phone, but I need to write things down. That's just a habit of mine, but I have a notebook everywhere I go. So that blog post, that, inspiration, that little piece of writing that I don't know what will turn into, I always have to write things down. do you just run to a computer? Like, I have an idea, let's go?
It depends. If I'm in the middle of doing something important for a client, I'll write it down.
Okay.
Because I literally, like, I have my 2 books here. This one is what I write my clients in, and this one is what I put my ideas in for, like, my courses I want to write, the notes for the courses I want to write, the ideas for different companies I want to start, stuff like that goes in here.
Yeah.
Or, notes for my stream. So I literally write things down physically. But if it's something where I have an idea and I'm not doing anything, but watching YouTube videos, I'm like, let me crank out the design real quick on Illustrator. And it won't look as good. And I'm like, this looks okay. And I'll release that not okay design. And I'll come back to another day and I'll redesign it and then re-upload it. It's fine. And that's the way I kind of like perceive it things. Because ideas, you like, this looks good. You come back the next day and like, this could be better. So you kind of like tweak it a little bit. But I always just release it. Like I never like this isn't good enough. I'm like, whatever, I'll put it out. If it's not good enough, no one will buy it. That's kind of my mentality.
Yeah, I mean, every designer I've ever talked to is like, you know what? There are days when you go, what was I doing yesterday? Like, because day to day, week to week, whatever, like you look back on what you did, whether it's yesterday or last week, and you go, nah, I could have done better. Or like, I did that. Like for me, I'm artistic with words. Like that's where my artistic ability lies. And I will look back at stuff I've written and go like, wait, I wrote that? Like I'm sometimes amazed I wrote that, right? Like, do you look back at some of your designs and go like, oh, wow, that was really good?
Yeah. Sometimes try to recapture that lightning in a bottle, but some days are good and some days are great and some days you're like, this is workable.
Do you take the time to look back on occasion, or are you always pretty much looking forward?
Only on stream, actually, when people were like, well, can I see an example of this? I'm like, I think I got some back there, and I'll go pull it up. Oh, man, this is really good. I forgot I even did this. I got to get back to this. So, yeah, you have those days, for sure.
Nice. All right, so that we've covered a lot, but I have to ask about the martial arts. How'd you get into it?
Ooh, bad kung fu movies.
There are no bad kung fu movies, my friend. There are no bad kung fu movies. They're all great.
Oh man, you haven't seen the ones I've seen.
I mean, I enjoy them all.
Oh, they're enjoyable, but
okay.
They're bad.
Well, all right. I guess on that we can agree.
Like chili cheese fries taste really good, but they are bad.
Okay, all right. Perfect metaphor right there. I mean, because one of my favorites is Legend of the Drunken Master, and that's like fairly good, I guess.
The first one or the second one?
The second one.
Okay, yeah. That one's really good to me. I like that one.
Yeah.
Actually learned that style.
Did you? Drunken Boxing?
Yeah.
I guess I've read a little bit about it just because I was curious. Because I think anybody who's watched that movie more than once goes like, wait a minute, hold on. But there is a way to mimic it without actually getting drunk, right?
Yeah. It's performative.
Okay.
It's performative. I wouldn't recommend it for fighting. It's really, really good for your body though.
Oh, is it?
It really kind of relies on the elasticity of the way you move and your joints moving, which not are traditionally how you move. So it's like a moving yoga almost, except for it's a lot more ballistic. So that's like I was probably at my most like shredded like midsection when I was doing that, because all the movements you had to go through, and my spine was super flexible. Oh, to be young and have good knees and a good back.
Well, so how many? I mean, I'm not going to ask you at your age, but like, how long have you been doing martial arts then?
Probably since I was 10. Oh, well, I was doing karate at 10, so I started doing kung fu at 14.
Okay.
So 25 years.
Okay.
25 years. Yeah, almost 30 years.
Wow. Have you been doing anything else that long?
Nope.
Okay.
No. Not consistently, no.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Like, I literally recently, within the last couple days, picked up my bass guitar for the first time in years. We go with years. And I've been playing regular guitar, but I was a bassist when I first started playing instruments. And, like, I don't think I've ever been consistent with my stuff. So I'm kind of like in awe that you've been doing it for that long consistently. Because I end up falling into more cyclical things when it comes to that. So like I'll play guitar for a few years and then I'll be like, oh, like now, I pick up the bass again. I haven't picked that up in a while. But I never end up being consistent with it like I want to.
Yeah, I'm not training like I used to. Like I used to train 3 to 5 days a week, and I was competing. I don't know. I've probably been to like probably a little bit under 100 tournaments. I probably had like over like 50 first place trophies and medals, and I got rid of a lot of that stuff though. It was just like it became so cumbersome. It's like, oh god, this is just eyesores now.
Do you miss it? Like the competition?
No, not really. At some point, you reach a level of like competition where, like traditional like martial arts, like if you do like forms and like push hands and stuff like that, like point sparring. That I eventually moved into like doing wrestling and doing like full contact fighting. I kind of miss the fighting, but you take too many shots to your leg. You're like, you can't. You gotta remember that you're gonna be alive another 10, 15, 20, 30, 40, 50 years. You can't keep doing this to your body. So I miss that kind of aspect, but kind of happy with doing what I do.
Yeah, I mean, it feels like I almost want to call you a philosopher, man. Like because the things I've watched and read and like consumed of yours, like it just feels like you're on a different wavelength. Like I don't mean that to be like coy or like I don't know, blow smoke, but like it just feels like you get it.
It's a lot of that stuff actually came from like I was really big into philosophy. One thing that really was a major turning point in my life, which kind of made me jump into the business, was when I got sick. Right before I got back into art, like I couldn't do martial arts, I couldn't lift weights. Like I was bodybuilding before I got sick. I was probably like 195 pounds, shredded. I had like a 6-pack all the time, and I was doing like muscle ups and like like 2-finger push-ups and on 2-finger push-ups on one hand. Like I was out of control. And then I got a muscle disease that hit me, and I was bedridden for like a little bit over a year, and I lost control of an eye. And I was like, man, I could have died. And facing your own mortality, you kind of become a little bit more cognizant of like the world around you and what you want to do. Like, I don't have time for this. You don't want to argue on Facebook for 45 minutes? No, I got better things to do. You're not paying me enough to argue with you right now. I gotta go.
So art was always kind of around then? You just happened back into it.
Yeah, I was doing it. I had accepted into the Cleveland Institute of Art in high school, which is a very prestigious school here. Except for it was like I think in 2001 dollars, it was like $60,000 or $50,000 a year. When I was like, well, we're not going there. So after that, I took graphic design at Kent State, and I lasted a semester before I flunked out. And so I started making like some designs with my buddy. We started doing shirt designs for bands, for hardcore bands.
Okay.
For a short amount of time.
Is that where the screen printing starts?
That's where the love for shirt making begins.
Okay.
And it kind of ends like maybe 2-3 years after, because we didn't really get any traction. And then like after that, it's kind of faded away. Like I just didn't draw for a while. I bought this house, and I was kind of like just working at the school, and bartending on weekends and summers, and I got sick, and I was like, I can't do the things that I like to do. I can't go to the gym. I I couldn't even really play video games because I had an eye patch, and it was like I couldn't use my hands like I wanted to use them. So I was basically just kind of like just drawing things very slowly on this laptop I got. Thanks to everybody, actually everybody at the bar. All my regular guests chipped into my GoFundMe to help keep the mortgage payment paid while I was in the hospital.
Wow.
Yeah, that floated me for like 2 or 3 months, which was nice. But yeah, that I used the money from that to get a laptop to, have some kind of an outlet.
Did you ever imagine this is where it would lead?
No, I just kind of I don't really press my way into like manifesting, some kind of like grand scheme for, this design business is going to be the best. I'm going to make the most emotes on Twitch. I'm going to be the #1 ambassador of emote making. I'm the best designer on Twitch. Everything kind of just like happened.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like the way I just kind of like go about life. I have a place I want to get to, but I'm not trying to run there. I mean, I'll just keep doing the things I'm doing and I'll propel myself there.
Well, and it sounds like, and it looks like from the outside that you're enjoying, again, I always talk myself into this corner of like, oh, you're enjoying the journey, but like it feels like you truly are, like you're happy where you are. You're in no hurry to either stay here or get there, but the more you do, the further you go.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes you can run so fast you fall flat on your face. The traction that I put forward, it'll happen. The one thing that I've learned about running this business and like promoting like the other things I do is, I know what I like to see. And I don't like people selling me things all the time and telling me to buy their things all the time.
Yeah.
So when I do things, I'm like, I made this thing. It's here. I mean, you might want. I don't know. It might help. I don't know. That's how I promote all of my goods and services. That's where the selling begins and ends.
You and I are equal. I mean, well, let's put it this way: the average creative on the internet at large does not promote their stuff or sell their stuff enough, I think. But also, we don't enjoy the selling. Like, it's good to make sales, right? Like that. I'm not saying that, but like, you would rather spend the next hour either talking process or actually just creating something versus trying to sell the thing.
I've learned to stop selling. It's kind of like if Apple has a marketing budget, but they're not really selling anymore. You know what you're getting.
Yeah.
Basically, an Apple user will tell you about what Apple products can do, or an Android user will tell you about the latest phone and what it does. The goal of what I do is, if I want to do something so well, and I've done this so far, is that when people receive a thing, people tell other people about it instead of me having to tell people about it. Which is kind of that's the gap you have to jump between point A of being unknown and point B getting the clients and having them actually refer people to you.
Yeah.
But you want to have that service. You want to under promise and over deliver. So if you like, oh yeah, I can do this here, your emotes. I'm like, this is way better than I thought it would be. I'm like, excellent. Now tell your friends.
I cannot emphasize one piece of this conversation enough. The impetus for change is not always positive. For Khan, it was a disease, but it bore such beautiful fruit in regards to his designs, his coaching and teaching, and of course, his coffee. Again, the impetus for change isn't always good, but that doesn't make the change itself bad. The change can be for the better, no matter what the reason for it is. But one thing of note is that upon reflection, I don't know if I see Khan streaming as selfish. I think we all want some company and companionship. We all want to be part of a community and share the good and the bad. As Sam said to Frodo, share the load. And let's be honest, humans have evolved to be community participants. So it may have been selfish in his eyes, but I see it as human nature. So go out and do the things. Be a part of the communities. And above all, make your thing, whatever it may be. Thanks for listening to the Palmer Files, episode 68. As a reminder, all links are available in the show notes. And now for the official business. The Palmer Files releases every 2 weeks on Tuesdays. If you're still listening, I encourage you to join the discussion. You can tweet me at Agent Palmer, my guest Khan at Young Khan, that's YUNGKHAN, or this show at The Palmer Files. You can find more information about Khan at khanartist.org. That's KHAN artist.org. You can find additional Khan merch at hftees.com. That's HFTEES.com. Or get some of his Khanguer Blend Coffee at kingscoastcoffee.com. Email can be sent to this show at thepalmerfiles@gmail.com. And remember, your home for all things Agent Palmer is agentpalmer.com. All right, Khan, do you have one final question for me?
Yeah, I always find this interesting when I'm talking to people that, do something creative or, kind of put forward their stuff on social media, like, or, in media in general. Like, what was the genesis of this podcast? Like, the format of it? Like, how did the whole thing spin out to this?
It's fairly nebulous, of like a bunch of things coalescing. And I've done the origin story before, but like the origin story starts with the blog and me getting introduced to podcasts and kind of guesting a lot and then producing. And then I get the idea for my own show. And then I finally launch my own show. But where it is now is more nebulous of all of the episodes that have come before it. So like all those other things that I just cliff notes were important. But like I'm the creator, the sole creator behind all of this. So I've edited episodes that maybe the guest talked more than I did, which is fine. Like, not every conversation is 100% 50-50. That's true if you're sitting down to have coffee with somebody in a diner or if you're on a podcast. But I take that into consideration when I'm in it, like in the editing process of like, oh, you know what? I didn't talk enough there, or I talked too much there. And so I've kind of got a general feel for what I think I'm looking to do, but a lot of it ends up being roll with the punches because it's like everybody's different and I'm not having the same person on to talk about the same thing over and over and over again. And, I've talked to a bunch of graphic designers. Every conversation's been different, right? And I'm not trying to get the same thing. But the other piece to this is I've learned from watching others what I don't want to do. Like, I just want to have a conversation with you, man. Like, you seem like an interesting person. Let's talk. Not, you seem like an interesting person. What can I trap you into saying that will be clickbait, right? Like, I mean, I know those people. I'm never going to be one of them. I don't even know if I could do that.
Like, I need the clicks, though, yo. I need the clicks.
No. Like, because I feel like it's, I want to connect with you. Like, my presumption for my own audience, what I know of it, is that when I connect with you, or if I'm just so enraptured in your story, if I'm just listening and asking questions to move it along, like, they're happy with that. My audience doesn't need me to attack you, and they're not looking for me to trap you. And I think that's an evolution of having done it, right? Like, that's not a thing where, yeah, I think I'll have a podcast. What will it be? I'll talk to people. Cool. But like you have to do it so many times and so often and listen to yourself and then see what happens. Like I'm like, I love this format. I don't think enough people talk in long form conversation. And I talk to a lot of people where they're on a show that's like a 20-minute podcast. And they're like, it was just starting to get good. And they said, thanks for coming. You know, I get long-winded. Maybe my guests get long-winded at times. That's going to happen. But I never want it to be like, oh, that was really interesting. No time for a follow-up, though. Thanks for listening. No, it's not good.
I know exactly what you mean. I've hosted I've co-hosted a couple podcasts, and it's an interesting balancing act. I had to ask. It's always people's intention for starting a podcast is always different. Especially when it's not based around any particular kind of content.
No.
Like the ones I was on, yeah.
Don't get me wrong. I am very aware that I don't follow my own advice, right? Like, you want to start a podcast? Pick a topic. Like, it's better. You'll have a built-in audience, right? Mm-hmm. However, I started the podcast after blogging for 8 years. And the benefit of that was that in 8 years of blogging about anything, okay, because I have a geek blog, generally speaking, but you can be a sports geek and a music geek and a book geek and a movie geek. I can write about anything I want. And that's one of the reasons that the blog is now 10 years old, because I haven't gotten sick of it. I think if it would have been like a Thundercats blog, I'm going to run out of episodes. Like, I might get sick of it, like being in it every day. No, I can write about anything and everything. And 8 years of that was like, all right, I'm going to start a podcast. I'm just going to talk to people. Who are you going to talk to? Anyone. Everybody's got a story. And so I feel like the benefit of it is that I'm, you and I can have you back on in 2 years, in a year, in 5 years. We'll have a different story. You'll be in a different place. I'll be in a different place. We'll have different conversation, et cetera, et cetera. But at the same time, I won't be sick of this show because I'm going to talk to whoever and whatever.
That's where I identify with you at a lot. It's like, oh, we could do a topic. And that's how I kind of like with my business. I could just do emotes all the time for Twitch, but I would get sick of it, and it would drive me insane. That's kind of the reason why I do so many different things. If I didn't, it would be too taxing mentally. Like it would be so dry mentally to do the exact same thing all the time that you would get burnt out. Yeah. So you have to talk about something else, or you have to make something else, or do something else and stretch those muscles, or you atrophy mentally and creatively.
Yeah, I get enough exercise from like helping people with their other things, and I think a lot of creatives are surrounded by creatives. We kind of congregate around each other. We find each other like gravity. Like, yeah, I got to pull to that guy, and I don't know why. Oh, years later, like, oh, he's making a movie, and I'm going to help him produce it, right? Like, we find each other, and I get enough of that, of like other mediums elsewhere, that I can continue to write once a week and put out this podcast every two, right? Like, but I think it's one of the reasons that I connect with you, because like you are doing all the things. Like, I had an idea, and it's not just on an idea board. It's like, no, I'm going to do that. Like, let's go.
Always make the thing.